So I want to welcome everyone to our Saturday morning webinar. I am fortunate enough that Judy's vacation was unfortunately postponed for a day. So she's going to be joining me today, and I couldn't be more thrilled to have her here with me because Judy is my networking partner in crime, and Judy's taught me a lot about networking as a business coach, but also as a networker. And the 12 points that we're going to go through this morning, I hope everybody has a piece of paper and a pen to take some notes, because as we were just talking with Tracy, so much of what we're doing right now is branding ourselves and finding a way to become the new GNC for the people that we know. You know, people are always willing to go to the vitamin store or to the general nutrition store, but we want to become that store for them. So I want to everyone, and I also want to welcome Judy and invite Judy to welcome everyone as well.
Yes, well, thank you, Jean, and it is a pleasure always to be on the webinars. I really wanted to be in Mount Rushmore this morning, but it did not happen because of scheduling, but it will happen, so I get to be here today, and welcome everybody on the call today, and remember that the chat box is open and available if you don't feel like talking, but we welcome your comments and questions on our webinars, because this is real life, guys. This is not something that Jean and I make up in the back room and then spout out. This really is our lives, especially when it comes to networking. You know, we do a lot of networking. Jean runs a group, a networking group, where there's thousands of members, and she's out networking all the time. And so we have real life experiences, and it's not that we know more, but sometimes we've experienced some things that other people haven't experienced. But we haven't experienced what you've experienced, so we welcome your input. And it's so important to have good etiquette when you're out networking. And you know, I know, Jean, you've had some horror stories, haven't you?
Oh, you just read my mind. I was just going to ask you for one of yours, but I'll really quickly tell you one of mine was, and it's really just learning from other people's mistakes, because I remember when I first started networking, this gentleman comes walking into a crowd, a group of people standing around, and we were all having a pleasant conversation, and he said, well, you know, what are we doing here? I thought we were networking. Here's my business card. And he handed everybody a business card, and he walked away.
Oh, my gosh.
And I thought, well, no one here is going to call you buddy. I mean, nobody even knew what he did. He just handed out his business card, but it was, he lacked the skills of what it takes to build a relationship. Judy, do you have a story to tell us?
Well, actually, I was at a networking event at a Chamber of Commerce once, and this woman comes in with a cherry pie. She was the president of the organization, and she came in with a cherry pie, and she said, we're going to have a contest today, and our contest is the person that gets the most cards wins. You have 10 minutes, go.
Oh, jeez.
And I was absolutely flabbergasted. I guess I was the winner because I collected no cards.
Well, you gave out the most cards, which is such a key part of our networking etiquette. And, you know, we're going to be talking a lot about follow-up and why we're actually even networking, which is sometimes the hardest part about networking. So we're going to jump right in. And you know what, Judy? As I'm getting ready to go on to the next slide, I realized I forgot our 3 key goals slide. So do you want to go through that real quick?
Yes. So we normally have a slide that has the 3 key goals of our Global Health Makeover group, and it's really how we become successful in business. And you know, we really have to attract customers. That's the basis of what we are doing. We want to get our product out and in the hands of everyone we know so that they can have vibrant lives and help them help their bodies heal itself from, whatever challenges they have. So customers really are the backbone of our company. But in order to have more customers, we can't do it alone, and we have to share our business so that our friends can talk to their friends. So we really want to also have business builders on our teams and to grow our teams, get into leadership, and help get the word out even more. And the third thing is what we're doing today, and that's increasing our N factor, really getting some education so that you can effectively talk to people, get business, and have more business builders on your team.
Right, and that was all centered around, when Dan and I first started doing these webinars close to 5 or 6 years ago. That slide is that old, and finally Synergy has kind of jumped on board with us, and they have made customers a priority as well. We can become Elite Honors qualified by recruiting, but we can also become Elite Honors qualified by having customers. So that is a really great thing, and I know it helps me become Elite qualified a lot of the times when I don't have someone that has joined my team. So Elite Honors qualified is really our goal, and is really what we're teaching down through our organization, is that if we can get all of our team Elite Honors qualified, it's only going to make us more successful.
That's right. And for those of you that are interested in network marketing and the industry, just a little short tip here is that read the information that happened this week with Herbalife and the $3 million settlement that was made because they have to focus on customers now and not distributors. So interesting judgment by the courts on Herbalife this week. So just take a look at that and compare it to how Synergy does their business. It's very interesting.
Well, that's why we're on the Forbes list of being among the most trustworthy companies, Judy, is because of the integrity that our company has, and I think everybody on this call knows that. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're talking about networking etiquette today. And as I said, Judy and I do a lot of networking, and we see it all. I hope I've seen it all at least. And I learn from that. So I was doing some research on the internet, and I found these 12 recommendations to be a polite and effective and successful networker. So we're going to dive right in. So the number one thing that we need to do is keep calm and speak clearly. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see people make, is that they rush through their name, they rush through their product. Even when I started, people would say to me, say the name of that product again, say the name of that product again. So now I'm very careful to say Pro Arginine Plus, and even then people don't understand what I'm saying. But saying your name clearly, Jean LaVallie, and actually staying really calm. And I know that's hard sometimes, especially if you're not a real extroverted person. It's more important to keep calm and just be yourself, right, Judy?
That's so true. And in fact, as an addition to the whole speaking thing, I would suggest that when you're first meeting someone, that you don't use technical terms. You want to really speak in 7th to 8th grade dialogue. It's not about how much you know and how impressive you are. It's about how you're connecting with that person. And of course, this is my personal experience, but I have found if I start saying endothelium and other technical terms, immediately they look at me and go, "Are you a doctor?" Like, no, I'm not. So, also speak so people understand what you're saying.
Yes, and that goes back to the speaking, enunciating your words. So much of the time when you go to networking events, you have an opportunity to give your elevator speech. Well, if you're trying to say too much, most of the times you only get between like 30 seconds to a minute to say what you want to say. And if you're trying to say too much, you're going to start talking really fast, and then people aren't going to understand what you're saying. But if you say just a few things and you enunciate your words, and trust me, this is something that I struggle with, because it seems like, the more nervous you get, the faster you talk, and the more it's not a pretty sight for me, at least. I catch myself doing it all the time. But keeping calm and just being yourself is always the best advice.
Yes, and it makes a connection with the other person, because as you were speaking so fastly, Jean, I really didn't hear what you said really, and I didn't feel a connection with you.
Exactly. It almost seems like you're in a hurry, and that makes me nervous. So anyway, so that's our number one. Number two is stand up when you're being introduced. When you're being introduced to someone and you're sitting down, it just shows respect. It shows engagement. What else does it show, Judy?
Well, it shows your... So, that's interesting, because I always tell people that I'm taller when I sit than when I stand. But really, it does. It shows respect for the person that you're meeting, for goodness sakes. It sounds like common sense, but it really does make a difference. And I never, if someone is talking to me and I'm sitting down, I will stand up during the conversation.
Yeah, I agree. It's always so awkward when someone is sitting down and you're trying to talk to them and they don't stand up. It's like, I have to find a place to sit, or could you please stand up? It's funny. So yeah, so that's my experience. I like these pictures too, because you'll notice that in the very first picture, the gentleman's going to shake the hand, and the guy who's standing up is kind of ignoring him. So I thought, well, that's a great picture for this slide.
Absolutely.
Okay, so number three, it's not nice to point. And if you've ever been in a conversation with someone who's pointing at you, you know that can be a little bit disrespectful. It makes you feel like, I don't know what it makes me feel like, but I notice it when people are pointing at me, and it does make me feel uncomfortable, especially if they're close to me, So I wanted to show you guys a couple of pictures that I waited to throw them up, of people that you might know that point. And just to be fair, it's an epidemic. So, everywhere I looked, they said that this is really bad manners to point when you're talking. And I found both of these pictures, and I thought that would be an interesting food for thought for this morning.
Yeah, I just love this, and it is so true, though, that it just is bad manners if you are pointing, around. You can make your point, so to speak, without your finger.
Yeah, and really, honestly, you should be able to control your hands when you're talking anyway. Talking with your hands is fine, but especially that pointing thing, it is a really... I have a friend, actually, and she's the sweetest thing in the whole world, but when she starts to get animated or she starts to get upset about something, she starts pointing, and she points right in my face, and I think, you're too nice for me to say anything to you, but that's really rude. So don't point when you're talking. And I put this slide up for you, Dan. One of our tips for today, and this is the third or fourth tip. I don't know. I forgot to put the number on it. But watch your language. And I've been known to use some colorful language now and again in my life, and this is something that you really have to pay attention to, especially when you're meeting people.
Yes, that is so true. And you don't know what people's background is. You don't know their beliefs. So you really have to be aware of just being professional and speaking in language that is acceptable to the general public. And I know I feel uncomfortable if I meet someone and they're starting to drop F-bombs on me. I'm like, you don't know me.
Yeah.
That's just such an interesting thing.
Yeah, well, I think it's just another form of respect. If you notice that there's a real line running through, a real thread running through this entire webinar, it really does come down to respecting the person that you're talking to and holding yourself in a professional manner.
Yeah, and Bob Wishmeyer says we just shouldn't give people the finger. Isn't that true? No matter what way it is. And remember, one of the things that I think about when I see a picture of someone pointing, it's, you know what, one finger is pointing at you, but four are pointing back at me.
Really, it's just three. The thumb isn't really going.
Your thumb is a finger.
Yeah, so I thought this goes in line also with watching your language and not using curse words, but telling stories. Have you ever been in a group where somebody will tell a really off-colored story or joke to a bunch of people they don't know? And I thought this was very interesting that you don't confuse their laughter with acceptance. They might want to hang around you. They might think you're rude, but are they going to want to do business with you? Is really the bottom line, and that's really why we're networking. Is that we really want to find people who want to do business with us.
Well, yes, and sometimes it lets me know who I want to do business with in the room, and so it allows me to leave those people very quickly, politely, but quickly, so that I don't get stuck with listening to off-color stories or even stories that are just off the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Or really long stories too.
Yes.
And that slide's coming up soon too. So number 6, this is one of my favorite slides because people who do a handshake like this for me, it just makes me crazy. I think that we run into it more as women. That I don't know if men think that we're going to break or what, but have a firm handshake, and that goes for fist bumps and high fives as well as the limp wrist. Your handshake really matters, and I know, Judy, you probably have something to say about that as a business coach.
Well, when you do a handshake, what you want to do is when you reach your hand out, you want to make sure that the inside area between your thumb and your fingers actually meet the other person's hand. So you are really touching that way. So make sure that those parts meet, and make sure that it is firm, and don't over squeeze because that shows power. And the limp one shows that you have no power. So just make it firm and quick. You don't want to keep pumping up and down. Just a good firm shake is all you need.
Yeah, and I've had people actually shake my hand so hard that it hurts. So I appreciate you saying that. It's like that, just firm. Don't break my hand. Oh, okay. So this is one of my favorites. Don't interrupt. Interruption, a way to demonstrate how much more important you think you have to say. What you have to say is than what another has to say. And I couldn't agree with this more. My one caveat here is that sometimes people don't stop talking. And so interrupting them is something that is you've got to find a polite way to do it, though, and to wait for a pause maybe in the conversation to ask a question or to change the subject or excuse yourself from the conversation. So interrupting. I try very hard not to interrupt people because it really is. I feel like, especially if you're not going on and on, you're not going to interrupt me, are you, Judy?
Was I listening? No, actually, Jean, I was listening, and And the reason I say that is because this is one of, remember our levels of listening webinar that we talked about, what you are thinking about. And sometimes we're so busy thinking about what we want to say as a reply that we just have to blurt it out. And it's not about what your reply is, it's about what you are hearing. So we have to make sure that we're listening to the person and allow them a chance to finish their thought before you continue.
Yeah, and that goes back to let's be interested before we try to be interesting.
Yes.
Okay, number 8, be interesting and brief. The quicker you can make your point, the easier it is for them to ask you questions if you struck a nerve. So I thought this was a cute little meme. I wanted to say hi, but then I remembered how much you talk. I remembered you talk too much.
This is cute. And that's why it's so important for us to practice our 30-second infomercial or elevator speech or whatever you want to say so that we are concise and complete and end with some type of invitation so that people don't say, oh gosh, that's interesting, I'll talk to you later, and leave. So it's so important.
Yeah, well, and the brief thing too goes to even to the conversation. You know, I think about standing in a crowded room of networkers, and the person who pulls you aside and starts to tell you their life story, or the person who pulls you aside and starts to tell you about all the things about their product that you absolutely should be on their product or using their service for, and you're missing this opportunity to network with other people in the room because this person is monopolizing your time. It's not something that I enjoy having done to me, so I really try to watch that.
And sometimes, Jean, I've heard stories from distributors saying, I went to this networking group and I met this person and oh my gosh, we had such a good conversation. We must have talked for 45 minutes. And I'm thinking that's great that you connected with that person and, I'm glad that you had that relationship. However, when you go to network, you have to know what your goals are. And if your goal is to connect with one person, then okay, now you've achieved it. But most of the time when I'm networking, I want to come away with at least 2 or 3 business cards because this 45-minute conversation that you had may be the only conversation you ever have with this person. And although it was a great one, it may not have, led anywhere.
Right. And you never know. You never know. And that's why and we're going to be talking later in this webinar about following up. That's a conversation. That 45-minute conversation is a follow-up conversation.
Right.
Okay, so if anybody has ever been talking to their teenager or talking to, worse yet, another adult, and you're trying to get their attention and they're texting or they're looking through their Facebook or whatever they're doing on their phone, it makes me want to not talk to them. Do you agree?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yesterday, Jean, I had an appointment with a chiropractor, and I got there maybe 2 minutes early. I like to make sure that I'm always on time, so I got there 2 minutes early, and he was on the phone, which is fine, no problem. But 20 minutes later, he was still on the phone, and I thought, oh my gosh, just how inappropriate. And of course I listened to the conversation because he stayed in the room with me. And it was a conversation that had a lot of unnecessary points and stories in it where he could have said, that's a great idea. Let's talk about that, in 20 minutes or whatever. I have an appointment right now.
Yeah, let me call you back. I mean, it's simple. Let me call you back. And that is really a big thing for me, too. And that's actually not part of our 12. But if you have an appointment or if you are going to a networking event, be on time. Because at least do your best to be on time. You know, these people who come in and like, oh, I'm always late. Why are you always late? You know, if you know you're always late, leave 10 minutes earlier.
Well, yeah.
My time is important to me.
This person that I met is actually the person that taught me the on-time phrase, which I will repeat, but I just thought it was interesting that he's the person that taught me about 15 years ago. And it is, if you are early, you are on time. If you are on time, you are late. And if you are late, it is inexcusable.
Yeah, that goes through my head all the time, especially when I'm late, Judy. Thank you for putting that in my head.
Anytime. And for everyone else on the webinar, too. Just, think of me next time you're running late.
It's true, though. It's true. I don't like to wait for people, but, I know sometimes life happens. So I thought this was cute. Smile and confuse with people. I'll tell you, I walk through my neighborhood and I smile at people, and I told my husband, I said, it's amazing how many people who can just ignore you. And I'm trying to make eye contact with them when they look down. They act like I'm not walking on the same sidewalk as they are. It's very interesting to me. So when you're networking, it's so important. Make eye contact and smile. It can be awkward. It can be hard, but it makes a huge impression on others that you are confident, and you're not trying to sell them something, that you're honest and you have integrity. It speaks so much to who you are. Don't you think so, Judy?
Well, and you know what? If you practice smiling, and sometimes, you're in a bad mood and it doesn't come out naturally, but if you practice when you're at events to smile, it becomes so automatic. And, it makes me happier when I smile. And people have commented to me, gosh, you're always smiling. You're always in such a good mood.
And you are. You're always smiling.
It's true, though. It helps make you happy. So why not, use everything we can, because there's so many things that are happening in the world that can make us not smile. So, have a smile that comes from within.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Tammy sent us a smile. Oh, and also, Donald, when we were back on the interrupting tip, he said, if you have interrupted, apologize quickly. That's great advice, Donald. I agree, because you do catch yourself sometimes interrupting. You say, oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go, continue. So sometimes you don't want him to continue, though. But so smile with your handshake, make eye contact. That's really, really important. This slide I love because it validated the fact that I'm always asking somebody, I'm sorry, what was your name again? Because unfortunately, when I'm asking them their name, I'm thinking of something else, and it flies out, or I hear it and I don't retain it. So I do ask. I try not to do that. But when I'm staring at somebody and I realize I spaced out and I don't know their name, or I have no idea what they're talking about because I was thinking about what I had to do later in the day, I will stop right away and say, I'm sorry, what was your name again? Or, you know what, I was spacing out for a second. Can you tell me what you were saying, or can you repeat that? I know Judy's heard that from me before. So is there a trick, Judy, to remember how to remember someone's name?
Well, actually, yeah, there's several tricks. The favorite of mine is to say the name and either connect the name with something else. So like with me, people can remember me by Judy Jugular because it's heart, and it's and it's just a good thing to remember. Oh yeah, that's Judy Jugular. And so when you meet someone, say their name and try to think of something that reminds you of something else. Even if it's Edna and you have an Aunt Edna, oh my gosh, her name's Edna, just like my aunt. And if you just think about that a couple times, it will really stick in your head, and you'll probably remember the name.
Well, and I don't know about anybody else on this webinar, but sometimes when I do that, I start thinking about whatever it is that I was associating it with. So if I said, oh, I'll call her Judy Jugular, I'd start thinking about jugular veins and blood, and I'd be off on another planet instead of talking to the person in front of me. So one of the things that I try to do, is repeat their name back to them when they say their name. And
Yes.
I practice that later.
Yeah, and Tammy says to please tell me your name again. So, or this is my name, please tell me yours, which is good. And Bob says that his is actually Beast of Burden. So,
I thought it was 1-800 call Bob.
Jean, I have a very recent experience with this. I do work. I work in a call center, and so they always tell us smile and dial. So as you're smiling, you have a different tone in your voice when you take that call. And then with the name of the person, I had a meeting on Wednesday, and I knew the guy's name. We had conversations via email, so his name was all over our conversations, and it's also the name of my daughter's boyfriend. So it was an easy name for me to remember, but when I got there, there was 3 other people in there, and I was looking at the tags, and I didn't see his name on his tag. It was on there, but it was like where he was sitting, I couldn't see it. And I was looking for somebody that wasn't even the person that I needed to meet. I totally, because I left work, went to this other meeting, I asked to speak with a Sean, and I was talking to an Austin car. And so I had to sit there and apologize because I totally had spaced out his name.
I'm telling you, it happens to me all the time. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tracy. Especially, that you know it. You know what their name is, and you just cannot think of it. And that's, you brought up a good point that I wanted to make too, is that your name tag, and someone told me this throughout my years of networking, my whole 6 years, is that your name tag should always go on your left shoulder because
you're right. You're right.
No, because you're shaking hands with your right. What they told me is you shake hands with your right, and then the people can see your left shoulder.
Well, you shake hands with your right, and it's on your right, so you can see it. Because if it's on your left, then they have to look away from you. I don't know. I've always taught that you shake hands with your right, and you put your name tag on your right.
Oh, I absolutely heard the opposite. She said you should have your name tag on your left so that when someone shakes your hand, because when you got your arm out, they can see, the flat part of your chest, and they can read it. I know that helped when I was screening at the golf event, and I had, probably a couple hundred women walking past me. That's actually where this business coach came up, and she told me that. So, well, obviously there's different schools of thought for that, guys. So,
well, yeah, whatever works.
Whatever works. Just, what I guess the point we want to make is just make sure wherever your name tag is, you can see it. I see women sometimes with long hair, and they have their name tag on, and you can't read it because their hair is in the way.
Or they put their name tag on their belts.
Well, that is not okay. Okay? It's just not okay. Do not put your name tag on your belt, people. I will not look down to see your name tag. Yes.
One of the issues I have with that is that I'm with you, Jean. I put it on my left-hand side for the very same reason. But when we go to Synergy and we have those long tags and they're right down at our chest,
yeah,
like we have to bend down or, so I always unclip the cord and put it back up at my shoulder. That way I can see when I look at them.
That's a great idea. I never thought to do that.
Oh, that's right, Jean. You weren't with us in Salt Lake City when Penny taught us that trick.
Oh, stop. I'm so jealous that I couldn't go.
You were definitely missed too.
Oh, thank you for saying that, Penny. You're so sweet.
It's true. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
I love your 2 cents. Anybody else, if you have 2 cents, we're going to be asking for comments and questions at the end, too. My organization tag on my left, my name on my right. What does that mean, Donald? Oh, so you say Synergy on your left, and then you put your name on your right. I got you. So whatever. Okay. Okay. So you got signs all over your body. Nothing on your belt.
You know, no, nothing on my belt. My pen level or whatever, it would be on my left. The lapel on my name tag on my.
Okay. And if that works for you, that's great. You don't have any problem with your hair getting in the way of your name tag, do you? Okay. So now we're on to 12, and I cannot stress how important this is. Following up. And follow up within 2 days. There may be some exceptions to that rule, but following up within 2 days, when you gather a bunch of business cards, the aim of networking is not to see how many business cards that you can get. The aim of networking is so that you can connect on a deeper level with people, so you can get your 7 touches going. It's a real thing. It will make a huge difference in your business. So stop, overthinking it and wondering, just do it. Because 2% of sales are made on the first contact. 3% of sales are made on the second contact. 5% of sales are made on the third contact. So now you've contacted somebody 3 times, and you've only closed 5% of them. Look at where 80% is. 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. And 48% of salespeople never follow up with the prospect.
Jean, this to me is, I think that this statistic is low. I do a lot of networking and talk to a lot of people, and I did a test a couple times and asked people, gosh, I would really like to find out more about that. Could you contact me? Oh, yeah, no problem. I'll give you a call tomorrow, or I'll email you, or whatever. And I bet that in my own personal circle, 80% of the people did not follow up.
Wow.
I even talked to some guy that was selling this amazing texting program, and I said, I'm really, really interested in that. Here's my card. Please contact me. And he said, oh, absolutely. I think we can do great things with, your business, blah, blah, blah. Never heard a word. And this was at an expo event where that's why they're there, is to get leads.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes. Follow-up is hard. I get it, you guys. It's like you get home from a hard day, and the last thing you want to do is pick up the phone, or the last thing you want to do is start doing a bunch of emails. It's as simple as saying, I met you with this, such. I'm interested in finding ways for us to work together. Is there a time that works for you, whenever you can get together with them, next week, beginning of August, or whatever it is. And just make that contact, and then put it on your calendar when you'll follow up with them again. We should be following up with people that we're networking with. We should be following up with all of our warm market. We should be following up with all our customers. We should be following up for sure with all of our distributors as well. So follow-up is something that should be a daily exercise for you. It definitely should be on your 21-day challenge. And if you don't know what a 21-day challenge is, well, you're missing out, because on Tuesday mornings, Judy does a wonderful coaching call for our team. And actually, we have a lot of people from other teams that show up as well on the 21-day challenge. And this is definitely something that should be considered for that list. Do you agree, Judy?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I actually wanted to take this last slide, and while we're on this last slide, I wanted to ask our participants if they could share either some tips that maybe we missed, or maybe share a story of maybe somebody who, or a time where networking really worked for you, or maybe a time where you saw some really bad networking skills. We would love to hear as we're talking about networking.
This is Tammy.
Tammy.
I've been reading the book How to Meet and Talk to Anyone, Anywhere, Anytime. And one of my downfalls is forgetting names. And I read in the book where it says you could just say, I am so embarrassed. Of course I remember you, but I'm terrible with names. Please tell me yours. And I think that's a great way of asking what somebody's name is, because if I don't know their name, I'm hoping that there's somebody nearby and they mention their name, like, "Hey, Sally, how have you been?" It's like, "Oh, great, now I know her name." And but that's a great way to I think it's a nice way to ask.
Oh, and you know what? That really, it all goes back to respect, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, if you have respect for the person, I mean, I'm never offended when someone doesn't remember my name, but if somebody said to me, "What's your name again?" Instead of, "Oh, I'm really bad with names. I'm sorry. What is your name again?" It's all in the way you package it and the respect that you show for the person that you're with.
And then sometimes if they forget my name and they ask me, it's like, boy, I feel so much better because I forgot yours too.
Yes.
That way you get them off the hook a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. You're good at that, Tammy. You're good at getting other people off the hook. You're very kind. Anybody else? Anybody else have any stories of networking or anything that they'd like to share with the group that you think could add some value to our skills in networking?
Yeah, this is Homer. When I meet somebody for the first time, I try to repeat their name 3 times, and then that helps me, it puts a jogger in my mind if, it's there for a while, Plus, I try to compliment them, right away with using their name, and that really helps me with names. So.
Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. That's one of the icebreakers that Judy and I teach through our organization is to give a sincere compliment. People know when you're being phony, but, I mean, you can find something nice to say about everybody, can't you? I don't know. Can we find something nice to say about the other Jean LaVallie on the call?
Can.
Bob, I saw you unmuted yourself. Are you going to say something about networking?
I was. Just the value of eye contact, I think, is important to remember as well. When I talk to people, I look them right square in the eye, and they know that you're all there. And I just think that's key to any good conversation, even if it's with someone new. But catch their eye, look them in the eye, speak directly to them, and it'll pay off in spades. It really will.
Well, my mom always taught me that if you're not looking at somebody, or if I wasn't looking at my mom when I was talking to her, she would say I was lying to her, because she said that's dishonest people don't look you in the eye when they're talking to you.
She just knew you well.
I remember talking to Mary Kay Ash. Of course, this was many years ago. And when you talked to her, she spoke to you as if you were the only person in the room. And anything that was happening around her, she would totally ignore and just make sure that she was looking you in the eye. And believe me, it made everyone feel so important when you talked to her.
So that's Mary Kay from Mary Kay?
Yes, that's Mary Kay.
Okay, for anybody who doesn't know that, Judy used to be one of the top people in Mary Kay Cosmetics, and she knew the owner personally, sounds like.
Yes.
That's a great story, Judy. So we're coming up. Oh, go ahead. Who's that?
That would be Tammy again. And when Homer said that he mentions their name 3 times, it kind of jogged my memory on a situation that happened to me yesterday. I see this lady when I walk my dogs every morning, and for some reason I always forgot her name. So when I talked to her, I said, I am so sorry. I said, but I forgot your name. And she goes, it's Marcia. I went, Marcia, Marcia, Marcia. And then immediately in my mind I went, Brady Bunch. So to this day I remember her name.
Anytime I meet somebody with Marcia, I repeat their name 3 times. It's embedded in our brain, I think.
Just a little tidbit.
I love it. I love it. Penny, you're unmuted. I'm going to call you out. Is there something that you were going to share with us?
Yes, it's something that happened to me just yesterday, as a matter of fact. I had an appointment, and it's one of those appointments. It was a doctor's appointment to have an X-ray, and, you know, time is really of essence with them. You know, otherwise I'll charge you if you don't show up. So I left him plenty of time. I thought, you know, I'll get there and get it over with, and I'll run some errands. And I ran into construction, and I was delayed. I mean, I sat there like for 15, 20 minutes. I thought, I can't believe this is happening. So obviously I was going to be late, so I called. Because there are some times when you just don't have control over where you're going out. But if you call, and they were so gracious, and they said, don't worry about it. You know, we'll take the next person and then just fit you in when you came, you know, when you get there. And I just thought that was pretty awesome.
Well, you bring up a really good point, Penny, because I'm always very careful. If I have to put my kid in a situation like that where I am going to be late, I always make sure that I text or call the person that I'm meeting and let them know, or text the office or call the office where I'm going and let them know, you know, I'm running late, even if it's just 5 minutes late. I want people to know that I'm not normally a late person, and that this is unusual for me, and I will be there just as soon as I can get there. And calling ahead is a really great idea.
And Donald, you're unmuted. Did you have anything to add?
Yes, I certainly want to, and it's on the first item, the product name, Proarginine. A couple of years ago, when I'm introducing myself, I used to ask people about Proarginine, and almost 100% would say they never heard of Proarginine Plus. And so then what it did was, for me, it changed. I introduced the product as arginine, and then worked the name Proarginine in, because a lot of people know of L-arginine, but not our individual product Proarginine. And in fact, just a note, Herbalife also makes an arginine product. It's called Nightworks. And there was this story of the 10 best L-arginine products for 2015, and Proarginine was naturally among them, and it was before Herbalife's Nightworks, and that's N-I-T-E works. So yes, that's my story on the name. Proarginine or arginine as opposed to the company, our company's name.
Yeah, and it probably becomes even more important for you to enunciate too, because you're working with an accent as well. It's a great accent, I love it. But when you're trying to spit out Proarginine Plus, sometimes I don't speak with an accent, at least that I hear people, and people sometimes say, "Oh, you got a Chicago accent." I don't think I do, but
hey, Jean.
And what I found was they were a little bit dismissive when I talked about Proarginine. They would say, "I've never heard about it," but then when I talk about L-arginine, yes, there would have been some time that they heard about it, or nitric oxide therapy, and then I worked the company's name, Proarginine. So that's my story on that.
Yeah, and I think I heard somebody else that was trying to make a comment. Was it?
Yeah, this is Homer. With me and Diana, we try to have packets with us. So, you know, when somebody says, well, I never heard of that, and then you just pull the packet out. Yeah, it looks like this. It comes in these little packs. You know, you mix it with water, you know, and a lot of times I'll just, you know, share that way, and it's then they understand. Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely easier when you're speaking one-on-one to someone rather than speaking in front of a group. And you know what? Even bringing a sign. I have people in my networking group who actually bring a sign. I have a woman who has a terrible accent. Hardly anybody can hear her, and that was the feedback she was getting, is that nobody really can understand what you're saying. So she brought big postcards or big poster board with her name on it and what she does on it, and she's talking with those in front of her. So I thought that was cute too. David,
hey, Jean, this is Dave. How are you this morning?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. I've been listening in. I apologize. I have to admit I was about 7-8 minutes late. So I'd like just make one quick comment and say that one of the things I have adapted to doing, and if you mention it, I apologize, is after I've met a contact or after a sale, I am sending either thank you notes or thank you emails to them. Even people that I don't know that mysteriously purchase on my website or the Synergy website that suddenly appear, I can see the sale, I can see their name and address, and I will send them a thank you card. And that's something that I started new, and I've heard it's very effective. So just wanted to add that to the conversation. So whether it be a note in the mail or an email or when you do follow up, if you don't get the answer, certainly a thank you or great to meet you message.
Yeah, that's really a great idea. I love that, and taking the time to do that.
Yeah,
We did talk about follow-up. Go ahead, Judy.
I said that's just great etiquette. That's good manners to send a thank you note, and no one does it. When's the last time you got a thank you note, Jean?
Actually, I got a thank you note I went to, and it's an old school thing to do, but I think it should be coming back. I got a thank you note yesterday because I went to my girlfriend's mom's 80th birthday party, and she wrote me a thank you note for coming to her party.
Wow, that's great. But she's 80, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's an old school thing to do.
Well, is there anything else? We're just about coming up on time now, so we want to respect your time. Is there anything, any other quick comments or questions that we have before we close it up today?
Only that's been an excellent topic. I've enjoyed the webinar quite a bit. Thank you, ladies.
Oh, thanks, David.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks for coming, and thank you, everyone, for coming. And for participating. We love participation. Go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say thank you. I've enjoyed this also. You did a great job.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming. All right, everyone. Thank you so much again. And I hope that everybody is going to get out there and network, and do it with some etiquette. So goodbye, Judy.
Bye-bye, Jean. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.